We have one more thing to talk about. Surprisingly, the entire last section of the pod we've dedicated to this one thing because it's captured our attention so impressively that we have so many thoughts about it. Mm-hmm. Now, it was initially like teased on social media. I'll just say, it's called the Rabbit, right? So this is this AI device assistant thing.
I think it's called
Rabbit
the R1.
yeah.
Sorry, the company is called Rabbit. And we didn't know what it was called, but it was some Rabbit AI thing, and now we know it's called the Rabbit R1,
which is like Rabbit 1.
It's like the essential phone PH1.
But that was phone.
PHONE. Yeah. Whatever. It's the R1.
The
Fine.
chip in the Vision Pro is an R1.
No, it's the
M2 plus R1. That's the other one.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
R1? What is the R1? Oh, the R1 chip?
To process
the other
the
chip, yeah.
visual data. We're off topic.
Anyway.
It's the Rabbit R1. And what the thing is it is a piece of hardware that has an AI built into it that can do lots of things based on natural language input. Lots of helpful things, lots of things that would normally take you a bunch of taps on a smartphone, lots of things that you might want to perform on a regular basis. It has a microphone, it has a speaker, it has a camera built in, it has a little screen on the front, and it's a little Rabbit AI that does all these things for you. Now, my first exposure to it, and I think yours was too, was a video of a bunch of people holding a blurred item because it wasn't revealed yet, giving it prompts. Mm-hmm. I'm going to actually play that video so you guys can hear some of the insane things that it was asking this thing to do.
Order me an Uber and find me a good podcast to pass the time. Oh, and tell everybody that I might be late.
That was delicious. Check the fridge and order the ingredients to make that again tomorrow.
Create a route that works with my goals. Then, start the best playlist to keep me motivated.
Watch what I'm doing here. Process all my new photos today just like this.
Find us a nice restaurant near here, then get us there.
So you get the idea. It's very focused on natural language input and then just a super helpful thing that carries out the task for you. Now, I've been thinking about like AI assistants a lot lately just because like we know Google Assistant's going to get better. We're waiting for Siri to get better. We already know Alexa and stuff are getting better. And I think the idea that we want them to be able to be good at is everything a human assistant would be good at.
Right.
Because most people don't have a personal assistant. So if your phone can be as helpful as possible and you can just tell it what to do and it can do it, that would be the ideal solution. But they've never quite gotten there. You have to speak in a certain way. When you wake up and talk to Alexa, you have to say, tell me what the weather is in this city for this day. A lot of things you have to be specific about and know how to prompt it in order to get it to do exactly what you want.
Yeah.
And a lot of other things it just straight up can't quite do. And so the idea behind why I think people were so compelled by this is, wouldn't it be cool if I could just talk to it like a human and it could just figure out what to do with AI and do it? And I think that's super cool. I also think it's super difficult. And so I'm curious how well this thing is actually going to work in real life. And now we have a 25-minute keynote with a whole bunch more examples, and it's very much, you know, an Apple style, Steve Jobs-esque, like black background co-founder on the screen telling me smartphones are $700 and you have to tap the screen 8 times to call an Uber. The thing we just made, it's $200 and you just tell it to call an Uber and it does it for you. And the proposed solutions to all the problems makes perfect sense. I'm just very interested and probably a little skeptical about how good it will be at doing these things without just turning into a phone. So I'm curious what you guys thought when you saw the keynote and the announcements and what this Rabbit AI could actually be in maybe best case versus worst case.
Yeah. So the promo video that you showed, especially because they were not showing the actual device and showing how you were going to interact with it in a touch way, was kind of funny because she just says, call me an Uber. She doesn't say where, which is kind of a problem.
Mm-hmm. She also
Theoretically,
says,
she should be saying, call me an Uber home.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And I was just going to say, at the end, she says, and tell everyone I'm going to be late.
And what does
I
that
can't
mean?
imagine tell everyone, just like contact list.
The entire contact list?
I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
And I think, so with that even, I think the believers would say it's got to be context aware. It knows where you are, and it knows that you just finished some appointment, and it knows you're going to go home. So when you say call me an Uber, it knows your location from GPS, and it's going to know to call you an Uber home, and hopefully it gets it right. And when it says tell everyone I'm going to be late, it knows about your next appointment at home, and it knows who's there, and so it knows to tell, like, it's going to hopefully process all of this stuff and all of this context and get it right, hopefully. It just seems like so many things it has to get right.
Yeah. They call this a large action model because with large language models, the foundation of that is a transformer. And the best part about a transformer is that it understands contexts of words. So you don't have to use like extremely specific words to trigger the assistant in the right way and interact with it in the right way. And if you've ever like had someone who's not super tech savvy try to interact with a virtual assistant, usually it says, sorry, I don't understand, because they don't use the right trigger words.
Exactly.
So theoretically, the best part of a large language model that you would interact with your voice is that you could basically say anything and then it would be able to do it. Now, the next step of that is what Rabbit's trying to do here, where you say things to it, it understands the context of what you're saying, and it can act on those context clues. That's clearly a very big leap forward, because right now all you can really do with these large language models is like talk to an assistant and have it chat back to you.
Talk back.
So actually being able to interact with your apps is very interesting. And the reason that in the commercial they had her go, call me Uber, and like they had her do that on purpose because it shows you that this is the way that humans actually interact with each other, and you don't have to use like very specific keywords to make it work. The way that you plug in your apps is really interesting.
There's a whole setup.
Yeah, you can log in. So it has a little LCD screen that kind of looks like a little phone. It kind of looks like a what is the
Playdate?
The Playdate.
It's made by Teenage Engineering.
Yeah,
right.
And it's bright orange.
designed by
And it's got this swiveling camera and all this beautiful hardware.
It's beautiful.
But it is the size of a phone.
Yeah.
So-
Well, not a whole
Sort
phone.
of,
It's
yeah.
like, it's like a Galaxy Z Flip.
It's big enough to be like like the Humane Pin whole thing was that it's like a small thing that connects to you. This AI hardware is like, it's not your phone, but you're not, they specifically said this is not getting rid of your phone, but it still is a phone-ish sized object that you're carrying around, probably exactly how you're carrying your phone around.
Right.
Yeah. The other
So just wanted to throw that out there. That is like, it is about phone size.
Marques, you're going to need more pockets.
Yeah. Running out of pockets now.
Yeah. I mean, I have to give them some credit. Like, there are things about this that actually kind of surprised me and that said, okay, that makes a lot of sense. He kept mentioning that the phone was supposed to be a thing that saved you time, but actually at this point, it's become a thing that just distracts you.
I have so many thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think phones are the problem. I think that addictive apps are the problem, and things like social media apps, and maybe either just using your like reduced screen time thing or not having your social media apps on your phone could do this. But the big question here is like, do you need a dedicated hardware device, or could this, one, be an app, or two, won't most of these features probably get added to Google Assistant and Siri within the next year?
Within the next year, yeah.
He was very adamant about saying that apps, like we've been in this ecosystem that it's app focused, and that using apps always consists of multiple touches and different drop down menus and all sorts of different things, where if you can just speak what you want to do, it's much easier to do that than to know exactly how to use every single app, which kind of feels like, our generation and the generation under us is very good at controlling apps.
Yeah.
So it's one of those weird things where this sounds like it's trying to, we've talked multiple times before about large language models being great as assistants, because then people can talk to it with normal words. And like somebody troubleshooting something doesn't need to call us. They can just ask normally. That kind of sounds like what they're pointing to, but it's also new technology that, I don't know. But
Where do I start?
yeah, there's a lot there. So
A lot of people were saying if this was an app, nobody would care about it. So they had to make it both a hardware product and they had to make it really cute and fun. And that's why they got Teenage Engineering involved, which makes sense. I mean,
It's fair.
they got, I was looking into this company. They secured their Series A funding round in October, 2 months ago.
Series A?
Or 3
They're
months
freaky.
ago.
Okay.
They secured their Series B funding round in December, 1 month ago. So this is an extremely new company that's breaking onto the scene really, really fast. It's like, we were joking yesterday, it's like literally the opposite of the Humane AI
the
pin,
opposite, yeah.
where Humane like hypes their product for 2 years, kind of pivots the point of their product because they were making it before like ChatGPT even came out, and then they added AI to all their stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, it's $200 versus $600. It
No subscription.
There's no subscription required, although it does take a SIM card tray. So if you want it to have access to stuff all the time, you do have to pay for another cellular plan, which sucks. Or I guess you could tether off of your phone or use Wi-Fi more often, but you're going to want to be able to use it whenever, wherever.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, the Humane Pin is also a projector under your hand, which is a whole bunch of other.
It's just a whole bunch.
Just a whole bunch of other things.
The hilarious part about the Humane AI Pen is the Rabbit AI's entire thing is there are too many taps involved to do something on your phone, and the Humane AI Pen takes even more gestures to do a single task.
That's fair. Okay, so I have a bunch of things to talk about. I think so. The first part is the part where apps take too many taps is debatable. I think. If you use the example of calling an Uber, for example, yes, there are a bunch of different apps you can use to call a ride to go somewhere or to do anything. And the setup process, which we're going to touch on, is you just connect your Rabbit to all of your accounts, your Spotify, your Uber, your Amazon, your eBay, everything. So it just knows with the AI where to go to do every task. So you need to call an Uber. On your phone, that's open up your phone, open the Uber app, tell it where you want to go, hit confirm, hit UberX, confirm, yes, I want to go there, and it goes to the GPS location of your phone. Maybe it's 5 taps or something, I don't know. And the idea with this best case scenario is you open it up and you just say, call me an Uber home. And it's push to talk, so it's not listening all the time, so it's nice. You don't need a special keyword. You just talk to it like a human. Call me an Uber home. And it knows based on your GPS location where you are, where home is, and it just finds an Uber and you just say confirm once and you're good. So it saved you taps. And it saved you thought because you just talk to it in a natural way. But what are the chances Uber just improves their app or Google Assistant improves with some API plugs to the point where in 2 months it can do exactly what Rabbit can do?
Extremely high chance.
I think that's very likely.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that came to mind. But then the second thing is, multimodal AI is still really cool. They did this demo of like you pointed at a fridge and hey, what can I make with these vegetables that I stacked up perfectly in the front of my
perfect fridge? The fridge that only uses the front 4 inches of each shelf.
Nothing hidden in drawers. Everything's in the front. What can I make with
all
this?
vegetables and eggs, and they made an omelet.
You can always make an omelet. Trust me. Yeah, but the multimodal AI thing is still really fascinating because I think. In general, that's where we're all going, and prompt engineering has become less and less of a skill and more just can we make it as easy as possible for the user to just talk to it like normal and get what they want out of it. I think that's all great. I just think this could be it could have been a $50 app. I think you're right, and it would have gotten less attention, but it would have been just as useful if I just open up the Rabbit app and just say call me an Uber. And
it's kind of. Do you remember when SoundHound came out before like Google Assistant was any good, and it was way better than Google Assistant for the time, and then eventually it just kind of got worse and worse because it was better at those context clues, and then eventually it lost relevance.
Yeah,
because the big players got into it.
And when I see this, I see like this is a small device that has a camera and some processing power. It has a 2.3 gigahertz MediaTek processor, 4 gigs of memory, 128 gigs of storage. If I could find something that you still have to pull out of your pocket and you still have to have your phone.
You still have to charge and has all-day battery life.
Yeah, all-day battery. It has a camera. If I'm trying to think of something that has internal components that with better specs, a better camera, better screen
that you already
I'm already taking out of my pocket.
And you're already charging.
That could do all of this.
Yeah.
If it had an app to tell it to do all of this, this is just
or if they just update the existing assistants.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like Google made a big push in like 2021 where they added these API plugs for apps so that you could do things with Google Assistant. I remember they sent me sent me those like self-lacing Nike training shoes along with like a MyFitnessPal like thing because they launched this plugin with MyFitnessPal where you can say, "Hey G, add this to MyFitnessPal," and it just does it, right? Yeah. So they already have those kind of things, but the missing link right there was the better natural language processing through transformers, which will get added to Google Assistant within a year.
Yeah, this and this isn't to take away from some of the impressive things that they did software wise and AI wise, like the LAM versus they showed pretty briefly. I wish they explained it a little more, but just kind of like how it can take action in different apps and how it's connected to that. And then also that they did the like watch me do this mid-journey in Discord, which was really cool, and you can train it. But all of that could be an app on better hardware that you own already, because if it's not replacing a phone, this can't make phone calls as far as I can tell.
Nobody
I think
did any
it can.
demos
I think
of
someone
it?
said it can make phone calls.
Then it's weird calling it not a phone because it is kind of a phone. Like this
has
is
a
just
SIM card
a
and-
different phone.
But you
yeah.
don't scroll an existing UI.
Yeah, it's not an app-based operating system,
Yeah.
which is what they were like very adamant about.
You know what?
But
Remember when we got new launchers every couple months? This would have been a sick launcher.
This would be a sick launcher.
Like on an Android phone, if it's just the Rabbit launcher and you open it up and it's just a full screen Rabbit, which is what they're
Minimalist
doing.
launcher.
It's just a full screen Rabbit, and you talk to the Rabbit. You're like, "Call me an Uber," and the Rabbit bounces a few times, and it's like, "All right, I did it.
yeah.
I used the Uber app behind you, and I called you an Uber.
Yeah.
and now it's working." I want to try something real quick.
you want me to try and call?
I just want to see if Google Assistant how close does Google Assistant get to just doing what this does? Just call me an Uber home.
Call me an Uber to Newark Airport.
You'd like me to call you by the name an Uber to Newark Airport.
Clearly, the context clues are not there.
I'm so glad you guys laughed because I just thought it was right and I was about to hit yes.
Call me
okay.
an
Call me an Uber to Newark Airport. Hi, an Uber to Newark Airport. I am Google Assistant.
Okay, so that did not work.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Regarding the R1, I do have two things I want to say.
Yeah.
One, last year, which was only like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I said that the trend of 2024 was going to be colorful things. And here we are. It's like a bright orange.
It looks good.
Beautiful. Yep.
Only one
It's
color.
the best
I
part
agree.
about it. Yeah.
I know. It looks great.
No.
The second thing is I feel like just with this and all AI stuff in general, it assumes a level of trust that I don't have with like my phone right now. Like I will call an Uber and still look at the map and make sure this guy is coming to me.
I want to just for if your level of trust is in privacy things, because that's what I first thought.
That
well,
too,
okay, that's
though.
different.
Yeah.
But
Just
what you're
execution.
mostly saying is execution.
Execution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, privacy was a whole other thing. But I just mean like, will this thing work?
Yes,
Most
because
people don't even trust their technology to do the thing they're doing.
I also think we have a natural tendency to shop a little bit.
yeah.
Like, yes, call an Uber is fine if you are not price sensitive to the ride and you're just like, get me home.
Yeah.
I don't care. Make it an Uber. But some people also have Lyft and they'll check both. And they had this whole segment in the thing where it was like, plan me a trip, plan me a vacation to London. Let me see some cool sights and let it be a relaxed schedule. And it's like, all right, I've got your flights, your hotel, and everything. I'm like,
You trust it that much.
I really don't want to just go to the first option. I'd rather shop. And I think that's a natural tendency.
If you were able to just say, call me a car home, make it the cheapest option, I don't care about comfort, and it was able to search Lyft and Uber and then figure out which was cheaper and then call it.
And then you get a 1-star Uber ride home
Yeah.
because it's the cheapest. There's a lot of stuff shopping around. You kind of want to find that balance. An airplane, I would never trust it. Just be like, get me a flight there. And it's like,
Yeah.
it did say make us all sit together. So it's like, are we all sitting in the back of the plane in the cheapest flight?
Is it
And
Spirit
I have no
Airlines?
carry-on luggage or like,
yeah.
You're next
I'm-
to the emergency door.
yeah, right next to the plug so
I think
my
that-
phone could fly out.
Very interesting thing about this product is that it is a universal it's a universal product that can access any app and do anything theoretically. So we talked a little bit about this earlier, but there's this training mode where effectively it's on your computer. It's like a web-based portal, and you show it a website that you're trying to interact with or like a service that you're trying to interact with, and you're basically training the AI what it means to interact with that service in the way that you would interact with it.
Yeah.
And then once you're done training it, theoretically you can just use prompts on your phone or on not on your phone, well,
Yeah.
maybe in the future on your phone on the R1, and then it's able to kind of go through that process for you. So in the demo that they played in the introduction video, it showed him like creating an image through Midjourney through Discord, and it recorded the session. And then when he says create this thing, it just pulls up the images on his Rabbit R1.
It goes through the whole process.
Because
it's
it
like
does it,
macros.
It's like a macro.
So in the off chance that one of the 20 apps that they support off the bat isn't one of the things you want to use,
Yeah.
like let's say they only have Spotify and Apple Music and there's a song you want to listen to on SoundCloud, well then you have to train it for SoundCloud,
Right.
do the UI on the computer, make sure it knows what it means to go to SoundCloud to look for something, and then when you say, R1, play me that song from last night on SoundCloud, it will know what that means and how to do it.
Yeah.
Because you trained it.
I do like that as a concept because Google in June of 2023 released Google Assistant for developers, where developers can plug into the Google Assistant so that you can have an open API where you can like have it access your app and do different actions. But APIs for developers are famously like this happens all the time. Razer will release some crazy new RGB API and nobody uses it in their game or their application. Like they have a couple of partners that do it at launch and nobody else does it. So being able to theoretically access anything by just training it yourself is a very cool concept.
Yeah.
Now, this is going to be hilarious to see how this actually works in real life. Yeah. Because if you train something to do it and then you're out and you need it to be able to do that and then it just doesn't work, then you got to pull out your phone and that's a problem. But,
or if the UI changes on the site or if something changes.
Yeah,
like if there's one thing I know about macros is that you spend 45 minutes setting it up and then the next week the website tweaks something a little bit in the background or breaks everything you built.
Right.
That's just a thing that happens. So
or the web page is scrolled down by 25% and so it clicks on the wrong thing.
I will say that feature is the reason it was in my cart for like an hour and I was debating buying it for so long.
I agree.
That
I think
feature could be sick.
I think there's like kind of two ways I see this going. And one is this turns into an app on your phone. And I think this company gets bought out and some other company uses it in that. So I think that's the way it goes where it makes a ton of money. The way it goes where people buy this R1 hardware product is using the learning thing by figuring out very specific tasks to do that makes their workflow a little easier. Because I don't think $200 is the worst price. The product looks cool. And if you can figure out to some very specific thing that you nail every time, Adam brought up, remember the Spotify CarPlay thing that was like really dumb and no one really wanted it. But then people started finding ways to like attach it to their computer
to
as
do
this
exactly what they want.
Yes, side screen. Like I think people are going to find some like hacky, really cool methods using the learning manual or module and this just being a cool looking device.
Yeah.
Some people are going to do some cool stuff with
this. This is a company that actually should have a store where you can upload your actions that other people can just download because that would be really cool if other people could just train it for you and then you can pull it down.
My question was also going to be, does this live on the hardware? Like what happens if I buy this thing, I teach it a bunch of different macros, I'm doing the thing, and in a year or two, the company goes out of business or they get bought. Then what? Does it still work? Do I need to, is it just a pretty paperweight at that point? Like,
well, it's $200, which is not a small amount of money, but I think when you compare to like the Humane AI pin,
they took shots a lot.
They took a lot of shots.
They did directly. They showed it on screen.
Yeah.
That's a valid question. I don't know if that's planned. You know the Steam Deck? Stream Deck. The Stream Deck with a bunch of buttons, and you can map those buttons to macros.
I did that.
This is like a tiny internet connected, beautiful Stream Deck.
Every time we start a new episode, I press a button and the new folders pop up on my desktop, perfect file structure, all that stuff. But there's certain things also that I do that with a visual component like this would be super cool.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if this would work.
If that teaching process can actually work for people are going to love it just for that one function. And I think that's awesome. People will spend $200 for that.
Edit the whole podcast.
Yeah. Hit the button. Learn from me editing this episode and edit the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if that ends up being a thing that most people gravitate to. But in the meantime, it is fascinating to see if it can pull off any of these other really broad tasks.
I think there's an analogy to like the Palm phone with this device because they don't want it to replace your phone, he says, yet. But it can do almost everything that your phone could do. I don't think it can do messaging.
If it can't do messaging or calls, then that's the problem with it, I think, is then you can't. So like the one, sorry to interrupt a little bit, you can still, but like the one thing about the Humane pin that I'll give it credit for is like it still has that connectivity. So like I think they're trying to say throw your phone in your backpack like the Palm phone. You don't need all the things on your phone when you're walking around. You can get some basic things out of a small thing on your, but this is like, you still need your phone in your pocket because there's still going to be, hell, even ordering an Uber, you might need to pull your phone out to know what address you're going to. So now you're looking at your phone and speaking into a thing in your other hand.
Well, this has a screen though, and it can probably show you.
But can you like search up? I guess you could say, "Hey, look in my email for this address I got
it
sent,"
needs to be
or
so
like something
context
like
aware.
that.
Yeah.
This assumes there's a digital trail for everything. Like, what if you just told me about this new pizza place down the block, and I'm like, "Oh, take me to this new pizza," and it's like, "What are you talking about?"
It's got to remember everything it hears, sees, if it's poking into your email, your calendar, everything. For it to be fully context aware, it needs the context of all the things a human assistant.
They never mentioned phone calls or text messages, right? I guess it said.
They never.
I think that they said tell people.
I remember someone talking about that. But
so then this is just a phone.
A smaller, cheaper, less powerful phone with much better natural language and a much worse screen and camera.
I'd be willing to try to use this as my phone for a week.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I like the idea. Like, if this idea actually got built out and people found use in it, and people could use it, I would like a premium version of this, because this is like a cheap plastic. It'd be kind of cool to have like an OLED made of metal.
Yeah, I'm shocked. It looked like an LCD.
It's definitely an LCD.
I would love an OLED.
I honestly thought you were joking and you were just going to list off phone stuff. I literally thought you were just joking when you were saying that.
I don't know,
Because I thought that's basically what you said.
If I'm like...
I just wish this was a phone.
If I'm just... Yeah, I mean... I might just be coping right now. If I'm just like going to go to the city to have drinks with my friends, and all I need to do is to be able to, I mean, I guess I use like Apple Pay or Android Pay to be able to, Google Pay, to be able to, I don't know. It's yeah.
Now I want to like pulling this up,
right.
like pay this cashier $5.75, and then you like hold it next to the
yeah, okay,
card.
that's the other problem. That's the other major problem, is that everything is voice-based.
Is it? Yeah,
That's
there's
a
like
huge problem. They do have a keyboard option that you can type in, I think.
yeah, and you have to press on it, so it is touchscreen because you have to confirm.
But it's a very
things
small
on it.
keyboard in that way. And so having to talk everything that you want to do when you're around other people is very frustrating.
It's a lot of talking.
It's a lot of talking.
And listening.
Yeah. So it basically assumes no social media and no messaging. And the messaging part is the thing that is going to be difficult.
So it's supposed to be able to tell all your friends are going to be late. But if one of your friends replies...
Tell everyone.
It will probably speak it out loud and then also show it on screen.
Yeah.
Maybe. But does it... How would they reply if is it a phone number?
A separate...
unclear.
Because it's not your
It's a
main
separate SIM,
messaging
yeah.
number.
It could be a data-only SIM, but maybe it...
But then you're
yeah,
a
that
green...
was not really detailed.
Is it Android? Are you a green bubble?
Probably.
Not if you can teach it
got beeper
to
in there?
be a blue bubble, and then
Teach it to like scrape iMessage. They specifically they made like a slight at beeper in the keynote, which I think was a slight at beeper.
It
where they
definitely
said
was.
we're not taking advantage of
tricking their infrastructure or something like
tricking
that.
other companies' infrastructure. I was like, wow, they're taking shots at literally.
You can tell
everything.
how recently all of this came together. How recent the slides are.
The funny thing, it was I don't know. It seems actually fairly built out. The product, considering they only got funding in October, but
It seems very interesting. I mean, we've been talking about it for like 20 something minutes. Like mission accomplished.
we have Twitter has not. I've seen
at all,
almost
that's true.
nothing on Twitter
Yeah.
about this. Well,
I've been tagged in
nothing
some,
not paid for. Yeah,
some people who are basically tagging me in the keynote, being like, "You got to review this. This is interesting."
The thing is, if Google Assistant
Adds this feature
and or Siri could just do this, then you just don't need another product. I don't want to charge another thing, you know?
Yeah.
That's the main thing for me. It only lasts a day. I don't want to charge another thing. And I don't want to pay for another cellular plan just to have another device.
To give them credit, it's been a long time since Siri's gotten meaningfully better.
Yes.
But I fully agree. It feels like Google Assistant is on the doorstep of doing a lot of this stuff.
This is happening. I/O, we're going to see this product launch as Google Assistant.
And it's going to be orange. In orange mode.
This feels like the prime question of product or feature.
Yes.
I think so.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like
It's Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the
Currently a
hardware
product.
Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds
Platformer
so mean.
feature.
I'm
The
sorry,
hardware
Rabbit. I don't mean it like
Clubhouse.
that.
Whoa.
Yeah. Platformer feature.
The thing is I actually think there's going to be a really cool like modding community that does some really cool things with these later, and it's going to be a super niche. And there's going to be a million Discord servers.
I'm
doing
like
some
okay
awesome
with that.
things. I think it's cool, and since
That'll be
it's
the best
cheaper, I think that'll be the best part.
Yeah.
Probably not what you're looking for as a company with probably hundreds of millions of dollars in capital funded, but
I think it's very smart of them to make it out of really cheap materials for a relatively affordable price, because it's an untested kind of product that they don't even know if people want yet or if it'll work. And so if they can get it in more people's hands and then the ecosystem gets built out, then maybe they turn into a company where they can make more premium versions of it and stuff. Whereas Humane is going like ultra premium. We spent a ton of R&D money on the projector, you know.
and the Rabbit still looks better than it.
Yeah.
Although they are still a bit different. There obviously are
Different sizes.
AI hardwares that are directly competing with each other. Although, one has a screen, one has a projector, one's a pin, one's a half of a phone. I
have a question.
I'm confused in the whole
Do you
space.
think the Rabbit R1 runs Android?
I think it does.
Probably.
It almost definitely does.
Right?
It has, yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a green bubble.
It's green bubble.
But it's like what? Yeah, definitely, almost definitely. But would you have to do it from? Yeah, I don't know.
Would you rather be a
don't
green
know.
bubble or
There's
never
so many-
message ever?
You know what's wild? There's so many questions about this product, and it comes out in March. It comes out on Easter.
I'm going to try to review it. I want to try it. Man.
Yeah.
I want to try every single prompt that was in the commercial and see exactly what it does. And connect all my accounts and just send it.
We're apparently getting review units fairly soon.
I want to
so-
try it. Yeah.
And not if they listen to this episode.
Well, I want to give them a chance for it to work well. It could be awesome.
No, I want to try it for sure.
I am delighted by the idea. There are so many unanswered
That's a great
questions.
way of putting it. If the idea is so delightful and I would love for it to be true, I just have a hard time believing that
that's gonna
everything
be
is gonna
reality.
work
Similar
perfectly.
to the VinFast pickup truck at CES. I'm delighted by the idea.
Yeah.
We'll see.
How dare you say that about VinFast?
We'll see how
The
close.
$200 price tag makes all of these questions far more palatable.
Yeah, if this was like $800, everyone would laugh at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one would buy it. But yeah.
Well, we shall see.
All right.
We shall see. Go back to that podcast I was just watching and hit like and subscribe. And by the way, leave a comment telling my friends to watch.
Who are you talking about?
My friends.
What friends?
Touche.
Confirm? Question?
Confirm.